Good. What?
I went down the track this past week and I went, oh, this motor's okay. I don't think it is.
No, you don't think so?
I caught the picture real quick. Hopefully I'm wrong.
Got bits and pieces of it for all intents and purposes. Make sure that we can get some pump the power to this thing. There we go. Jump right up on that. Coming to you live with episode number 16 of the Final Round podcast from the beautiful Empire Dragway here in Leicester, New York. This is a cool opportunity that we had here on a Thursday to get out here and see the track. And in a little bit of time that we've been here, we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot about the racetrack. Pat's been giving us a history of all sorts of different things as we were sitting here. Jason sort of putting this together here, something that we wanted to do, and I tell you what, man, it's panning out pretty well so far.
Yeah, it's definitely working. I have to say I'm really impressed by the new tower here. It's my first time in it, even though I was down the track last weekend. Like I said, this is my first time seeing the new tower, and it's really nice up here in the hospitality suite, I guess we'll call it. They've done an amazing job. It really is. This track continues to get nicer and nicer.
You're gonna have to get up on that microphone a little bit more. You're a little bit quiet.
I will bring it closer to me.
Yeah, work on that for a second. Pat, man, always good to see you.
It's always good to see you, Chris. Whoops, sorry.
I'm not gonna struggle to get the questions to you this time around, huh?
Yeah, I think I might be a little hard of hearing from the racing, and then just that connection. It was so quiet.
Yeah,
it's tough to hear.
Muffled. But nonetheless, you guys have done some remarkable work. Here's a good look at what the track looks like now. This is the view from this hospitality center that they've built high atop Empire Dragway, and it's got everything you can ask for. Those sponsor booths down there, they look awesome. This common area has got huge screen TVs. And
600 square feet of just relaxation for anyone that wants to rent it for any reason through the course of the season.
Right.
With a great view. It's big.
The view is nice. You can see all 660 feet of the drag strip. You got a great view of the towers. You can see the staging lanes out the opposite side windows. It's a really, really sweet setup.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. It's amazing too. I mean, for people that weren't here previously or up in the tower previously, that wouldn't really know how much it's changed, because it's a night and day difference, sight lines down the track compared to where we are now compared to where we were a year ago. It's incredible. It really is.
It's going to give us a chance to generate revenue that we never could have generated before.
Right.
Some of the specialty days that we have coming up are for one is a large car dealership. It's a chain, actually. And they're going to bring different service department prepared vehicles from each one of their houses.
Oh, good.
And they're going to touch them off on the drag strip. And they're going to bring about 150 employees. And if they want to, they can take their car down the track as well.
That's cool.
So the hospitality suite is more than just a neat place. It's a place for us to hopefully, grow revenue and invest it back into the property.
Right. I know, and it's been successful for us with Western New York Super Auto Association. We've had our corporate day out here with Banner Engineering and KOM Automation, and we've had anywhere from 50 to 80 customers come out here, and we've just set tents up in the pits. Had a barbecue out there for our customers, but I mean, this is so nice. I mean, why not now basically utilize this space rather than doing tents outside? You have a nice place for everybody to come. It's air conditioned. Again, great sight lines of the track. So yeah, I mean, it's just this is going to be really, really nice, and I think it was really smart to build this.
And the just the landscape, the hills that you see off in the distance and whatnot. It's a pretty killer deal. It's almost like being at Maple Grove.
Right. It is really, really nice. I would say we got the sun setting right now. I can see the camera on Chris's laptop here. Sun setting behind us. It really is a nice view up here.
We could do some cool event broadcasts from up here, bringing drivers up and doing some interviews, and then also looking at the way that some of the power structured up and down among all the poles. And we got to buy a little bit of additional technology so that we can get the expanses that we need to cover.
Right.
But I'm really, really optimistic about the prospects of what we can do here through the course of the season. This is going to be something that we're certainly shooting towards. It's not going to happen Saturday. Because Amazon's not going to get the stuff here as fast as we need to. but going forward, I know we looked at a couple dates in July at trying some stuff, and I'm far more optimistic being here now. And right now, the other thing that I'm looking at is no dropped frames, and we're singing along pretty good on a hot spot.
Yep.
On our own hot spot, which is just as promising as anything else. Because one of the biggest things, especially with Crash Course, when we go out someplace, we never really know what we're driving into. You can look at all the maps and you can talk to all the people that you want to. Ultimately, until you get there and you set feet on the ground and actually fire up the hotspot, connect the computer, and see how fast you've got, you don't really know. We went all the way down to Virginia for the second time last year in Woodstock, Virginia. We went down there for the fair in August, and we were able to do everything that we wanted to do. Went down there again in October, and apparently the cell tower had burned down or something. There was no signal. There was nothing. I mean, my phone would work fine. Tried to connect to a hotspot, and it would just nosedive. And that was with nobody at the fair.
Right.
Then once everybody got to the fair, they were all hitting off the same tower, and it turned into the Three Stooges syndrome. Everybody was trying to get through the door at the same time, and it was over with. There was no good happening, and then the wind picked up, and then it was blowing so hard that it shoved a portage on about 30 feet, and then the camera stand blew over and it smashed off the top of the computer. It
was a cathartic weekend for you. A lot of things left a mark, I can see.
That was one of those days.
You know he's a counselor, right?
Yeah. You're a counselor?
Maybe there's some things we need to talk about.
You're not ready to venture into my mind.
No, the mine is a scary enough place to hang out, trust me.
You don't want any part of that. The other topic that we're going to be hitting on tonight is we're going to be talking with Teresa Shelton from down in Texas, who is going to be filling us in on. We hit on this topic last time we were together. Nick Cerino looking to upgrade a lift and a wheelchair, and they're fighting with insurance, and some friends and family put together a GoFundMe page for Nick, and in the span of 3 days they had about half of what they needed.
Wow.
Which was awesome. Nick is an avid drag racing fan, and he was injured in a dirt modified accident and ended up breaking his neck and was paralyzed from the chest down. And he actually, Teresa may even talk about it, he had to go to the doctor's appointment this week in order to sort of validate the need for this wheelchair, prove that he was still paralyzed, if you can believe that.
I can believe it. I used to work in human services. And,
so I mean, they've
you got your legs missing. Stop in. You got to prove it.
Yeah. So they've had certainly a rough go, but Nick has been a regular listener of the show since we started. I remember Nick. He lived right around the corner when I was a kid, and always into some form of motorsport.
Yep.
And so excited to be talking with her, but also turning our focus back to the topic at hand with Empire Dragway. You finally had some cars going down the track.
Yeah. Yeah. The rain has been absolutely brutal. It gave us a chance to get some of the stuff done to the facility that we wanted to get done. There's been some new speakers hung.
New lights?
New lights, yep. Big lights, actually, by the entrance over there, so
Right.
you can actually see. It's a lot safer to get out of the property, too.
Yeah.
But a lot of infrastructure stuff that we did. And hopefully, now that we've got a little bit of sun, we can keep making a little revenue.
Right.
And make it all work, because it is fun, but it's a business.
Right. That's
And
right.
you've only got so many weekends a year to make your revenue, where Southern tracks don't have those issues.
I would say maybe we can get snowmobiles going down the track in the wintertime to...
Dude, I'll race shopping carts. I don't care. I'm a full-time employee. I got to work here in January. I might as well be setting the tree up.
How's that transition been? I know when we talked last, it was only about 3 days old.
Yeah. I love it. Usually around 11 o'clock, I look down at my watch and I go, I'm hungry,
Yeah.
And then the next time I look down, it's 5:30.
Right.
And it's really ramped up since we got that big show coming up in July with the Street Outlaws. But, Jerry keeps me busy with a lot of different projects. Prepping the track takes a lot of time between, races week to week. And, making sure that our racers are taken care of and there's any questions answered that our loyal, hardcore sportsman racers might have any, just take care of them, make sure everything's answered.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's got to be nice, really, to work for a track owner that, and I'm not saying that it's an unlimited budget, right, but that's not afraid to spend money, which is kind of it's really 180 degrees outside of what the status quo has been around here for 30 plus years, right?
Yeah.
Which is, we're basically trying to milk this thing and put as little money into the property as we possibly can. So it's got to be really a breath of fresh air to go someplace and work someplace where the guy's willing to say, hey, you know what? If this isn't working, let's fix it. We'll do what we need to do to get this fixed and make it right. Which is
case in point. This is a small detail.
It's really 180 degrees.
He had a wireless mic,
and
he had me go out in the property, and we were just checking the boundaries with the new tower,
30
where the
plus
antenna was
years,
located.
right?
Yeah.
Which is,
and it just
we're
it was
basically
pretty much
trying
good
to
enough.
milk this thing
Just
and
had
put
to
as
be
little
careful.
money into the property as we possibly can.
A couple days later, Jerry
so
comes
it's got
into
to
the
be
box.
really a breath of fresh air to go
know better than
someplace.
I, but it's some high-end Sennheiser wireless. No questions asked. Nothing. He just knew he needed to be able to do announcements from the starting line at his bigger shows.
Yep.
It's the same way with anything we've needed as far as discs, scrapers, propane, anything that we've needed to try to step up our game. He's been there. Now he's not dropping $500,000 at a time.
Sure.
Some people think that that's feasible, and I understand their exuberance.
Right.
But day in and day out, I see that plastic come out, and he is growing this place, and it's really exciting to me, and it makes it fun to work for him.
Oh, there's no doubt. Yeah, there's got to be no doubt. And as a competitor, I have to say it makes it nice to come here because of the fact that you all of a sudden have a track owner that's willing to put money into the place. So it's like, oh, geez, well, we want to do this, that, and the other thing, right? But you do have to show a little bit of patience. Because obviously, like you said, I mean, at the end of the day, Jerry's not a bazillionaire here. He doesn't have an unlimited budget, and he has to generate some revenue with the track and then bring it back in here to be able to reinvest in the property. But that's happening, and it just takes a little bit of time to do it. But there's little things. I mean, we talked about it when I got here today, the new lights that went up in the staging lanes here. He's like, yeah, I remember when I used to race out here, I couldn't see my, put my dials or, on the window or, set the tire pressures. And it's absolutely true. You were sitting in the lanes when it's dark. You couldn't see. You had to have a flashlight out there. So, I mean, it's a little tiny thing like that, just putting a couple lights out there that now all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is really nice. It's just one little extra perk. The new restrooms. I don't know. I mean, the restrooms have been here for, 2 years? Mm-hmm. I mean, I was in them this past weekend again. I'm like, man, these are really nice.
They're like hotel lobby restrooms.
It really is nice. I mean, it's like it's nice to go to a restroom that's clean and it works. And I realize that to some that may seem like, well, geez, of course you're going to go to a restroom and it's going to be clean and it works. Well, that's not really the status quo when you go to a racetrack.
No, nope.
I mean,
we were at a racetrack one time way up north where it was basically a toilet that was there for show that ran down a hole out to a river. And if something blocked that up, it was a bad scene.
Right. Well, and there's a reason why. I mean, for the most part, the stigma is that the women don't want to come out to the racetrack, and it's like, well, why? And it's a big reason why is because of the restrooms. It's like they don't have a clean restroom to go into.
If Jason ever goes live from the executive suites at Empire Dragway, just be aware that you might not be tuning in for what it appears.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, the restroom up here is a little posh, but it's locked down on Saturdays. That'll have you know, Clara's not going to let strangers invade her powder room.
Right. And I'm assuming I didn't really get into it with Jerry. I mean, he gave me the full tour up here. I'm assuming that the owner's suite, let's call it up here, is really because of the fact that they're spending long hours here. I mean, Friday night you're here late, and then Saturday morning you're back here early again. So I mean, you
can believe that. There's a part of the truth, at least the way he tells it, is she wanted one of them campers, and he didn't want a camper. He wanted to do this instead because with all the length, if you think about it, we had to go over the return road.
Right.
So now you're committed to a certain amount of size.
Right.
We certainly weren't going to go back.
Right.
But so use the space, as best you see fit.
Sure.
And yeah, that does have a lot to do with late hours and things of that nature. If you look at what goes on with the divisional, staff can be going to bed at 3 a.m. only to rise at 6.
Right.
It's a tough hump, but it's what you do.
Right.
That's a long day.
And it's funny too because you come out here on the weekend, and I remember pulling in the gates last Saturday, thinking to myself, it's like, man, the place really looks great. The grounds are well maintained, and I realize that the rain has made it hard to cut the lawn and do some other things like that. But overall, the grounds really look great here. But there's just, again, little things that you don't think about when you're not here on a daily basis.
How about this? Every week right now, because of the rains, there's 100 man-hours being invested into cutting and trimming grass.
That's a lot.
Just grass.
Yeah. And as I pulled into the parking lot today, right, I hear grass weed whackers out there, guys, basically trimming the lawn. And it's like those are little things that you don't think about when you pull into the property, but obviously that doesn't need to be done. Jerry could say, screw it, we're not going to do that. We're just going to you can cut your own lawn.
Right. Right. But that's just not the way he operates. If there's, good, better, and best is going to have to be really, really pricey for him not to be buying it.
Right. Right.
I mean, he's definitely makes an investment in something that'll last.
Yeah.
I know he's got his eye on the building across the way.
Yep.
Not real happy with the way that structure's held up over time. The last time he didn't feel that way was the last time the big shed got put up with the new bathrooms. But, you have to make improvements that benefit your local racer, not just always do the things to attract the bigger crowds. And if you look at what he's done with purses,
right.
we got the biggest purses by far, and they're guaranteed.
Yep.
There's no breaks in car count. If you want to come out and race, and you're going to win $1,000, you're going to win $1,000.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean if it's you, 2 people, 5 people, 60, whatever. But you're going to win $1,000.
Right.
And it's going to be at $200 more
or
something more than you would elsewhere.
Right.
And that's only if a certain level of participation has been reached. I mean, no one's doing that around here except for Jerry.
That's right.
So the investment goes beyond what you can see on the physical property. It's going into the way that he's trying to make things square with the local racer because their fuel prices go up.
Right.
Because their tire prices go up.
Right.
And he understands that you can't have static purses. Now, we can't go out and pay what everybody wants.
Well, you can if everyone wants to pony up a $200 entry fee, right?
Right, exactly. And that's where you get into the entry fee games and crew goes from 15 to 40 and all that kind of stuff. But he's not doing that.
Yeah.
He's banking on the come, that if he treats these racers the way they need to be treated, they will come.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I have to say that not everybody may be aware of this, but it was just earlier this week that Jerry announced that for box, that guaranteed $1,000 to win, right? And I'm assuming that just being a box racer myself, I don't even pay attention to what the no box purse is because I'm terrible. But he raised the no box purse as well. I'm assuming, right?
Yep.
And that's with no increase in entry fees.
No, that's just thanks for coming.
Right.
Things are getting more expensive. Thank you for buying your fuel for me. Little things that have helped him along the way. He's looking to give back, and I only bring that up because there's shiny new toys.
Yeah,
but that's not it.
Oh, right.
So you know where I'm coming from? There's a lot of other things that.
Well, and the payout really is unheard of, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just usually the payout goes up. I guess I'll call it one of 3 reasons. One, you're having some type of special event, which is why there's a particular payout. 2, because we've raised the entry fee. Or 3, because the racer's on the verge of a revolt, and the track finally gives in and says, "Okay, we'll raise the payout." But for a track owner to basically volunteer, "Hey, we're raising the purse," and like
with
I said,
good car counts,
already.
I mean, he already had full pits.
Right.
It wasn't about, we need to pick up 30 cars in Super Pro. We got them.
Right. Yeah, so that's.
You could always use more. I don't mean that to sound.
Oh no!
But it was more of a something to reward.
This wasn't a ghost town.
A gimmick.
Right. Yeah.
We like to talk, Chris.
That's fine. I'm gonna get a hold of Teresa to chat with her for a few minutes and talk about the stuff that's been going on with Nick, and then we can get more into a bunch of these different topics. This is one of the benefits of going live, is we're going to do it the most complicated way possible. That's why the giant computer screen is up in front of me, so that it doesn't look as bad as it is. But we have Teresa there. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with your dad. You can jump online to give us the link and make some donations of that so that he can get that wheelchair that he needs.
Yeah, so it's GoFundMe.com/Nick and Mary Ellen, and is spelled out in the middle in there, and everybody can jump on there and find it. My father has been a quadriplegic for 21 years, and he was in an accident at Fulton Motor Speedway in '96. And my parents have done an amazing job over these past 2 decades. My mother has done all of his primary care, never had nurses, never had aides.
Jeez.
And I've been begging them to let me do this GoFundMe for over a year now, and they finally gave in and let me do it.
And you guys have had some remarkably fast support come to you.
Right. So it's only been up for 2 weeks, and we just broke $8,000 today.
Wow. That's pretty good. And the target number, if I remember right, was somewhere around 12,000.
Yes, we are targeting 12,000 because we needed 6,000 for the 20% copay on a new wheelchair for my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And we needed another 6,000 to install a motorized ceiling lift so that my mom wouldn't have to use the manual lift anymore.
Okay.
So that's going to, with it being installed and purchasing, that's another 6. So we've made the goal that we needed for the wheelchair,
That's
which
great.
is super exciting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my dad and mom went to the doctors just yesterday. Every time you get a wheelchair through companies, you have to actually get a prescription for a wheelchair.
Yep.
And basically got to prove your case. Is that my understanding? Did we lose her?
She's gone, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, up
She,
against the windows is kind of tough. I will
checked
just say
out
that
on us. We'll call her back.
if people don't understand the amount of personal care that a quadriplegic needs, it's amazing.
Right.
And if this man's wife has been able to provide that care, I mean, that speaks volumes
Right.
for this family.
Oh, yeah.
And for them, they need this stuff. I mean, if she's referring to what's called a Hoyer lift, it's a very difficult way to transfer somebody.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I give a lot of credit. 20 some odd years without any
20
aid.
years, yep.
Whoa. I used to be in the healthcare industry, ma'am. So I was just kind of elaborating while we lost your call.
So, yeah, Pat's a jack of all trades. He's got a background in just about anything you can think of, and he was just complimenting the family and being able to stay dedicated and learn the new way of life that was sort of forced upon you guys, and what a testament it was to the dedication to do that for the last 20 years without the home health aides and things like that. It's quite the compliment. You guys are very deserving if this thing can come together, and it sounds like it's heading in the right direction.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Everybody that has reached out so far, I've got so many little messages because I'm managing the account for my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And people that owned a little couple that owned a bar where my parents used to go before they even got married in like Geneva. Donated money, and they reached out and said that they had moved out of the community about 20-something years ago and never knew about my dad's accident.
Really?
Yeah, and so they reached out and they donated, and they wished us all the best of luck and prayers and everything. And it's just amazing how far it's reaching. And the more shares of that link that we can get, the better.
Your dad's accident at Fulton came in a dirt modified. Was that his first start in one of those?
No, that was actually the last race of the season to qualify for Victoria.
Okay, gotcha. And prior to that, he wasn't necessarily a dirt modified guy.
Right. My father was actually a world champion drag street racer, the street ET class. In 93 and 94, the worlds were held in Memphis, Tennessee. And so he took that back to back. And he wanted to go pro stock, and he wanted to increase in his drag racing career, but sponsorship was so scarce back then. He took a year off to save up for the pro stock bike and decided to run the dirt modifieds with his cousin, small block.
And that was what turned the tide completely. And the thing is your family's, as you said, it took a little bit of while to get Sue Ellen to agree to have the GoFundMe start. They're a pretty proud group, and the injury hasn't really slowed Nick down a whole lot. I still see a lot of pictures of him at the racetrack, and he's pretty close with Frank Francis.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my dad, even after the accident, it took him a while to get up and around to where he could be in a wheelchair for lengthy periods of time. But as soon as that was possible, he talks to guys on the phone about how to dial in their bike all the time. He's built, what did he build? One of the low riding motorcycles from
Yep.
the parts box up. Anybody with hands, he's willing to tell them what they need to do.
A lot of times you see guys that get hurt and they almost get angry or bitter about the sport and they go away from it. This is completely opposite direction. Even though he doesn't have the mobility, if he can tell the hands how to turn, it's been 20 years of staying very active in the sport of racing as a whole, be it drag racing or otherwise.
definitely. I mean, Dad and I talk about it all the time. If he could walk tomorrow, he'd be in a car Saturday.
Good man.
It is what it is.
Has anybody been able to take him around the track?
No, we haven't done that.
No.
It's really difficult to get him lifted up, like what y'all were talking about with the Hoyer lift and stuff. But he did take a couple rides with my mom in a Mustang convertible, which, you know, is nothing, but they really had a good time with the top down. We were able to put him down into it with the lift.
That's
So
awesome.
that was kind of fun.
Oh, yeah, that's very cool.
To give people an image, a Hoyer lift is similar to an engine hoist, but smaller.
Yeah.
And it's got an apparatus that comes down and it goes underneath the individual that's being lifted and transferred. So it's a lot like, and I don't mean to be crass, it's a lot like picking up a small block out of the engine bay, swinging the thing around and setting it down to the engine stand.
Yep.
It's not the most graceful thing, and it doesn't leave people with a whole lot of dignity.
Yeah.
And I really, it's a device that I don't like very much, but it's very necessary.
Right.
And I'm glad that you're able to move away from that, ma'am.
Right. My mom is going to be turning 55 this year, and her back just cannot handle moving him in that lift anymore. And also, we've had the same lift for 21 years, and we've literally worn the tires off the wheels, so we're kind of like a shopping cart that doesn't have a tire.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we got right now.
It's a heck of a comparison.
Yeah, but that's pretty much what it feels like. So we're remodeling their side of the house. We've got the ceiling kind of torn up and ready for the installation for the lift, so that we can have the motorized system take Dad out of bed, put him in his wheelchair, and also take him in and out of the tub, because my mother does all of his primary care. So that would just be phenomenal for her and him.
Right. We'll get some more link information on the show post at the conclusion of the show, so that everybody can find it. And we've got a real good picture of Nick hanging out with Frank Francis. We'll get that up there so everybody can see how well Nick is doing and at this present day. And like we said, staying active in all forms of motorsport down there. How's Texas been?
It has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Dad's been able to go to Texas Motor Speedway with his buddy Phil. Phil takes photographs and things for NASCAR. Cavalli, I believe his last name is.
Yeah.
And he always comes down and visits my dad. They're high school buddies. He takes Dad to the track. He gets him all the pit passes. And you go to Dad's Facebook, Nick Cerino on Facebook, and he's got all those videos and stuff. And tries to make it at least once a year to the big track.
How about you? How into racing are you?
Oh, sometimes I think that Dad's accident really curved my future and maybe saved me from something because I was definitely the one that wanted to get on the bike or, get in the dragster really was what I wanted to do. And so I've kind of not had that in my life. I've been teaching, and I'm a mother of 3. We all live here on a big old compound together, about an acre of land, and me and my husband, the kids, Mom, Dad, everybody. So haven't really gone there that much. But I still love the smell of race gas. I still love the racetrack. It's fun to get out there.
That's awesome. How do you feel about Texas Motor Speedway?
Man, I went there. Very first time was for a car show in the infield, and it's just incredible.
Right.
It's just like amazing. Going under the tunnel, you go through the tunnel under the track, and you end up at the infield, and man, it's awesome out here. And the weather, one of the reasons why we ended up in Dallas is because it's where my parents met. And if people visit the GoFundMe page, they can read some updates I've posted of their love story that they've had over the past 35 years. And my father looked at me when I was graduating high school and said, if I could ever get back to Dallas, Texas, that's where I'd want to be. And I said to him, all right, Dad, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to become a teacher. I'm going to go get certified to teach in Texas. And I'm going to bring you guys with me. And that's exactly what I did. And they've been down here with me for almost 6 years now. and the weather's beautiful. Dad can be outside in his wheelchair so much and enjoy it. It's just been phenomenal.
That's awesome. It's a good story. I didn't realize that about that leg of the that leg of the Dallas story. That he said he wanted to get back down there, and you set to it to make it happen.
Yeah, it was definitely a rough thing for me to leave New York. I was down here by myself for about 5 years, trying to set up roots and find a good job and find a good place where I'd want to bring my family down with me. And so that was difficult being apart from them. But as soon as we got them all here, it was great.
You're not missing anything in New York. No one ever wants to live in a place where the air hurts your face for 6 months.
It's so true. We talk about the things we miss. Definitely the pizza. Definitely Wegmans. The people. The small town and everybody knowing everybody. But man, the weather down here and the opportunity, everything growing, the construction, the jobs. It's just amazing.
That's
everybody in Western New York just went.
I know.
It
but
sounds though.
Nothing as beautiful as the Finger Lakes. I mean, that was just an incredible place to grow up, and I can't wait to get back with my kids and show them where I grew up and have a visit.
Have they been back up here?
My family or my kids?
The kids.
No, my son is just going to turn 7 next weekend. My daughters are 11 and 10, and so they have not.
Wow.
So we are going to have probably a decent-sized family trip next summer and kind of driveway hop. We'll bring an RV up and just kind of park in different family members' driveways.
That works. It's way cheaper than having to get hotels. Well, again, it's GoFundMe.com, and then Nick and Sue Ellen. It's all
Mary Ellen.
Or excuse me, Mary Ellen. Sorry about that. Nick and Mary Ellen, and the "and" is spelled out on that one. If you guys want to make a donation, it's going towards a terrific cause. Lifelong racing family, and relocating to Dallas, but still, Nick, despite the injury that he suffered back in the 90s in that dirt modified that sidelined his drag racing career, staying active with the sport, and that's good. This would be a big step for the family. We're hoping everybody gets behind it.
Thank you guys so much for the opportunity, and thank everyone who has donated and everyone who shared the link on their social media. Even if you can't donate, sharing the link and spreading the news as far as we can is the best thing. And thank you guys so much for letting me come on.
You bet. Make sure you keep in touch. Let us know how things are progressing, and if you get any pictures from any of those racetracks, be sure to pass them along.
Definitely will. Thank you, guys.
Look us up. Also, look us up when you get into New York. Maybe we can get together and we'll do something. We'll at least get a chance to say hi to Nick again.
Definitely. That'll
Get
be
him off
awesome.
the track.
Yeah, we'll get him somewhere. There's plenty of tracks.
I know. I know. He says y'all want him to come on, and he keeps shying away from it. But I'll convince him. I'll convince him eventually.
Well, if we just show up, if you just tell us where you are, we'll just show up, and then you won't have a choice.
There you go. Perfect.
Well, again, Teresa, thanks for coming on. Wish you the best, and be sure to stay in touch.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye. There goes Teresa Shelton talking about the benefit for her dad down in Dallas, Texas, trying to get him a new wheelchair. And
I will say that you guys you may or may not know, Pat, but Mike Mercurio, who was a stalwart in the drag racing area in the Buffalo area, was definitely an inspiration to me. So he was a paraplegic, which obviously isn't quite as bad as being a quadriplegic, but he Lancaster actually has a sign right at the starting line that's called Mike Mercurio Way. He was the race director at Lancaster for a long period of time, and he was wounded in Vietnam and paralyzed then from the waist down. And here he was at 18 years old and now confined to a wheelchair, but always was into cars and racing. And we got home, he just did not allow that to basically stop him, and had hand controls in his race car and still raced. And it was one of those things that as you're a kid, you wonder, geez, what would it be like to lose an arm or a leg or be paralyzed? And you think, oh my God, that'd be terrible. It'd be the worst thing in the world, right? And it was one of the best things for me to be around Mike as much as I was and see this guy who didn't change his life because of the fact that he was paralyzed. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, you're paralyzed from the waist down. All right. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot better things that could happen to a person, but there's certainly a hell of a lot worse things that could happen to you too. And yeah, life goes on, right? And at this point, I mean, you think about terrible things. It's like if he told me, hey, you know what, you got cancer in your leg, and the choices are to go through all this terrible thing and terrible treatment. We may or may not get it. We don't know, or we can lop your leg off, and we know 100% you'll be cured. Take it off.
Yeah, give me the saw. Do you know Freddie Jacobs?
I don't.
Freddie Jacobs is and his father Fred Jacobs, a couple of guys that have. They've had a few pro modified cars. I don't want to say second tier, but they're scrappers.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They've got a nice repair facility, this, that, and the other thing.
Sure.
But they're not buying brand new stuff on a pallet.
Right.
The old man had a horrible wreck at Spencer.
Yep.
And it was a relatively well-known wreck to this. I mean, he was in an altered, and it exploded when it wrecked. And he is confined to a chair. And he has been fighting all kinds of different staph infections and issues with his legs. He should have been dead twice after the wreck, in the last 30 years. And I wouldn't, a guy can't even get out of a chair. I wouldn't mess with him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He's got so much, and his son, Freddie, Fred Jr., has so much compassion for this guy, and just watching him banter, they fight like cats and dogs. But it was racing and staying around racing, I think, that had a lot to do with Freddie Sr.
Staying healthy.
His mental acuity and all the other things that would go if you just kind of gave up.
Right. Yeah, it was amazing. Like I said, growing up around Mike Mercurio, like I said, he was really an inspiration overall to me as a kid. And I'm glad I had, he passed away, I'm going to say, probably 10, 15 years ago at this point. But really glad I had the opportunity to have him in my life. It's really incredible. And I see Chris posted the picture of Nick with Frank out here. I mean, that's not too old of a picture.
That's from 2016, July 2016.
Okay.
And then the link is also up there on the show post as well on Facebook. And so basically anybody that sees the show post any place, if they click on the link, it'll take you, it'll ultimately take you right to the Final Round page, and you can find all that stuff right there. But I mean, it's and Teresa's told me before that Nick has been one of those. It's like, if you can find the hands, you can still make it go fast.
Yeah. It's one of those things too. It's it's a shame that he ended up getting hurt at the races. It's one of those things, and we all have this conversation at some point in time with somebody. We all know the risks when we go out there. We don't generally talk about it. It's not something you dwell on, but all of us that are out there going fast all have the risk of potentially something really bad happening to us. That said, at the same point in time, it's like, well, if this was going to happen to you one way or the other, I mean, let's call it you actually get killed, right? Well, if I get killed, I hope I get killed out here at the racetrack, because at least that's how, that's doing something I love, right? I'm not sitting in my office desk, putting together a quote for work and keel over from a heart attack or something like that. So,
You don't live and breathe price quoting?
I don't. Yeah. I don't go to bed at night thinking to myself.
For your race car.
That's right. It helps pay for the race car. And I do, just in case my boss is watching, I do love my job. But I don't go to bed at night thinking about Excel spreadsheets and putting together price quotes and doing those types of things. I'm generally thinking about something drag racing related, or how I'm going to beat up on the guys in West New York Super Rod Association, or
It's one of the things I love about this show. I always learn something new about Jason here. I thought he was just a spreadsheet junkie, and it turns out he's got more personality than that.
That's right.
Just a tad. Yeah, he's doing all right.
We were talking a little bit about some of the upgrades to the track and getting passes. You were talking about different pieces of transition, and you were talking about having to drag the track in.
Oh, yeah. Before we went on the Mike, one of the other employees, and I were talking about what we got to do tomorrow, because we've got another week of racing coming up. And what we were discussing is where we're going to hand scrape. And obviously you can't do 1/8 of a mile every single week. It's just prohibitive. But there's areas that you need to address to make sure it's as on spot as it can be. And we were looking at where the area transitions to the asphalt and the way it holds compound. and how thick the rubber is relative to where we might want it to be. And these are decisions that go on every week. And as we get more and more data from racers, we're able to do a better job helping to prepare the racetrack, because every racetrack's very different. They all have a different personality.
Right.
And in fact, lane to lane, they're different. You can scrape them bare and do what's called, dragging. That's when you take drag slicks, push them down to the surface with a tractor with an attachment, and then roll them down to lay down a nice carpet of even layered. They drag different side to side. Don't ask me why, but they each have their own personality. So that's what we were getting at. We were just talking about, well, the starting line, we got to scrape this because there's a little bit of buildup. The starting line was very good last weekend. It never tore up, and it had a lot of cars go down. So we were happy with that. And, we're going to start over and do that again.
Yep.
But we know that there's an area that we'd like to touch. I don't want to get talking about, give somebody a reason to point something out and go, I heard you say.
Right.
Things are fine. Things are fine. But we are always looking
To improve,
to be
right?
better, the
Right.
same way as our racers
That's
are
right.
looking to be better.
Yep.
Because if we're not doing that, then why come?
That's right. Yep, that's absolutely right.
The clouds,
Oh, the
and
clouds
sunset
coming
starting
in.
to come.
Oh, that's cool. So that's what everybody gets to see?
Yeah, that would be.
That's what I get to see every day when I come into work. We're sitting at the table that I usually spread my computer out on, and that's what I look at. That's my job. I get paid to do that. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah. You're
crazy.
Definitely one of the luckiest people in the world, no doubt about that.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
I mean, I every day I'm happy to get up and stay late.
Right.
And you can, because there's lovely couches here if you can catch a nap late at night.
No, I got a funny feeling that if Jerry caught me sleeping, he wouldn't really do that much to me at the moment, but I would never, ever live it down.
I'm talking about late at night. If he's here late at night, then something else has gone majorly awry anyway, right?
That's probably
He's
true.
got you. He's got you to be here late.
Yes. Well, no later than him. Jerry won't. God, it sounds like I'm trying to kiss my bosses. He won't leave if there's a. Rarely will he leave if anyone's working. The fact that we're here without him tonight is a rarity.
Well, he had
There's a-
mentioned when he left
yeah,
that
there's
he
a-
was thinking about coming back. Now,
Right.
I mean, yeah, we're
Oh, he'll be
going-
here.
Yeah, I mean, we're going on 7:45 here,
Yeah.
and I mean, and by the way, he's not here because he's celebrating his wife's birthday tonight.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, otherwise he'd have some chainsaw going off in the back. He was trimming limbs over there. We're getting off topic, but this is just to explain to people he's trimming limbs over on the corner where there's a tree. All right, it was half blown apart by lightning or some kind of something, and so we went over to trim stuff. He didn't like the way it looked, and the next thing I know, there's a tree going by through the gates around to the back, just gone. And they spent the better part of half a day cleaning up the appearance at the corner of Covington and New Road. Now, in the time that he, finger quotes, lost playing with the tree, of course,
Right.
he had to stay an additional 3 hours later that night because that's his work ethic.
Right.
It's unreal. But here's the thing. He doesn't like to talk. And if anybody doesn't read him right because he's fairly shy,
Yeah.
they might think he's being standoffish, but I can assure you that he eats, lives, drinks, and sleeps these racers.
Yeah, no, Jerry is definitely a great guy, no doubt about it. And I know I've mentioned to him a couple of times, I would love to have you on the show. And
He's like John Wayne. He just doesn't talk
I would
much.
say every time I mention it, he's always trying to find somebody. Oh, talk to Pat. He'll go on the show.
He'll never shut up. Go ahead.
Right. So yeah, he's definitely. It's funny because he's definitely not in it for the spotlight, right? Because
No, he wants a good racetrack.
Yeah.
He had a good race car, so now he wants a good racetrack.
right.
He had a good repair business. Now he wants a good racetrack business. There's from knowing him to the point I do, I don't think there's anything he's ever engaged in that wasn't foot to the floor and pretty successful.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at some of the races we're putting on this year, some of the events that are coming in, the creativity with the diesel truck show, the no prep show, which is the weekend after, our big blowout with the Street Outlaws.
So the Street Outlaws, that's July 2nd.
That's a Sunday. Yeah, that's
Okay.
the second.
And so the following week then is this
No prep.
And I can't remember what's the name of the show. I mean, there was some
Hell, I don't know. It's just a bunch of guys running with no prep. We got to scrape the
but
sucker
big
and they're going
money.
to go down. Yeah.
big money.
Yeah, there's different classes that are online. I'm not as familiar with it because, to be honest, they rented the facility. It's that type of an event where they come in and essentially it's their deal, and we're going to run it for them.
Yep.
But as a racing fan, I'm pretty excited.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And I know a lot of people, we talked about this before the show started, don't feel that no prep is safe. Well, in the beginning, drag radials weren't safe.
Right.
And in the beginning, guys running on 28-inch slicks with high-power cars weren't safe.
Right.
Well, the traction boxes took care of all that. So now, what's the last thing you can take away? Either you make them run on temporary spares, or you take the track away. Right? Yeah. Because it's gotten to that. Bro, there's 26-inch tire heads-up classes. I mean, it looks like a big wheel, you know? So you just take the track away.
Right.
Let's go. And people are going to figure it out to where it's not the death trap that you go out there with a car with your 4-link and shock and everything else set up the exact same way you would on a groomed surface and take a shot at it and see if it's going to be close. Well, it's probably not going to work.
Right.
But if you put some thought into it and you come out to the event knowing that you're dealing with different conditions.
Right.
There's some cars out there going 110, 109, 60 foots on a bare racetrack.
Yeah, it's really impressive. I mean, and that's the other thing too. I mean, I realize that there's, let's call it a fair bit of carnage that takes place on a no prep track, right?
Yeah.
But what people don't realize is that you're also talking about very fast cars. And if you watch Pro Modified on the NHRA broadcast, right? It's like I would say it's pretty much every race that they have. Somebody's crashing, and it's like, why are they crashing? It's like, well, they're trying to go 570s, 580s in the quarter mile on a fully prepped track. That's a fast car, and that's basically what you have out here. Is you guys have cars with power adders that are going very, very fast.
Yeah, who picks up 60 in the back half?
Right.
I mean, they're still. I don't know. I haven't looked at any of their graphs or anything, but I'm guessing they're still pulling at least 2 Gs 1,000 feet out. I mean, that's acceleration, right? And you're pushing limits. And if you take the track out of it, it's not all about horsepower.
That's right.
As long as the traction boxes, the Davis and whatnot, don't get into that class, I think it could be something that will be very interesting to watch.
No,
the next big thing, I don't know.
Doesn't hurt to have some extra horsepower, but
right, if you can utilize it.
Right. But that's the thing I love about it is the fact that it's a tuner's class.
Yeah.
So it's not just okay. Let's see how much power we can throw basically at this thing at this point in time. So I really enjoy watching the classes because of the fact the fastest guy the guy with most power doesn't necessarily always win.
And I love small tire racing. I really do. But it's gone from 33.10.5 to 31.10.5W to 29.10.5W to 29.10.5 non-W to 28 to a 315 radial to a 275 radial. Okay, and this is all very well and good, and the people that do it really love it, and I like it.
Yeah.
But when does it end? Like I said, we're all going to be on temporary spares, and I think that
That's just a visual in my head of like a Mustang lined up against a Camaro on the
with 4 donuts or 2 donuts on the back.
2 donuts.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a joke, but is it really? I mean.
There's the general saying that since man was basically created, that he's wanted to race, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think the answer to the question is where does it end? I don't think it ever will, basically, because you take 2 horses, 2 big wheels, whatever it is. 2 guys are going to want to race, and if you get enough people to get together that say, "Hey, yeah, you know what? I think racing on temporary spares sounds like fun," then you're going to have guys with temporary spares out there racing. Yep, and I can claim that I'm the fastest 63 Corvette in the world on temporary spare tires.
There you go. That's your Facebook.
Right.
What I brought back this weekend, just getting a little, is I was watching Ian Bacon's car.
Yep.
All right. And it's hoisting the front wheels 2 feet in the air every run, old school Super Pro, the stuff that I used to sit in the bleachers for when I was 19 when I wanted a car.
Right.
And Ron Bennett had that blown little Pinto, and it hoisted in Sledgehammer and, Phil Scarlatta and Mike Bonacci and all those guys that were just, it brought some of that back. And, the old steel wheel stand and Super Pro cars, there's really still a place for that spectator-wise, too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some of the aero straight down on the ground stuff, the 990 cars, no disrespect, they're harder for the average wrench.
Oh, they're boring to watch.
I don't want to go that far.
Oh, I'll say it.
Okay.
Unless you're a competitor, or unless you've sat down and really had somebody explain to you exactly what's going on.
It's a tough watch.
It really is. It's unfortunate because 30 years ago, it was a super exciting class to watch because you had Ian Bacon's car basically in super gas competing. And they were heads up, muscle car, wheel standing away from the starting line, and they were really exciting. But, yeah, with the advent of throttle stops, I mean, it's a super fun class to compete in.
But I want to watch John Pop. You know where I'm coming from?
Right.
That's
right.
And for the $15 to come and watch with some of those cool Super Pro cars, some of the cool Pro cars, the dragsters have reached a level of detail and speed that makes them a whole lot more interesting than they might have been when they all went 880s a bunch of years ago.
Right.
It's just a really good show. And now with some of they get on some of the racers' nerves, and I understand the test and tune lane has caused a little, you know what I mean? And we're going to fix that and speed it up. But at the same time, for the spectator, there's been some pretty neat stuff coming out of that lane, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, someone went 6:30 here?
6:13.
6:13 last weekend.
2:30. Yeah, he went, what did he go, I think he went a 4:10 to the 8th.
All I know is I was down at the end of the track in the pits, and all of a sudden I hear this thing screaming down the track. I'm like, what the heck is that? That sounds fast. And then I was able to look out the trailer just quick enough to see this thing fly by. It's like, wow, that was fast. I don't know what the heck it was or who it
ran the
was.
number he predicted. He said, I'm going to put a 4.0 tune-up in this, 410 tune-up, and it's going to be for, the local Pro Mod level.
Right, right.
And I said, we said to him plainly, I wouldn't go past 1,000 feet. We're not doing a whole lot out there because it isn't required for even 8-second cars, right? I mean, we're doing stuff, but
right,
watch it.
Yeah.
Not a wiggle, straight as an arrow. So it felt good.
Yeah.
It really did. His 60-foot was a 969. So to know that the facility held that and then was able to put many of our local guys between Saturday and Sunday down and have an efficient group of runs there, too, that were repeatable.
Right.
That meant a lot.
Right.
Because the track prep's not just for the goofy stuff.
Sure.
It's for you that needs to come off your throttle stop.
That's right.
It's for another guy that has small tires, but he wants to run Super Pro.
Yep.
It matters for everybody.
It's for the guy.
Oh, are you still here?
It's for the guy. It's for the guy with a Vega that has donuts.
Yeah. Hey, there's been some Vega wagons where they get rid of the rear glass and they put a little steel in there like a sedan delivery.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool looking deal.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I see one of those, I get a big stupid grin.
Now, for the Street Outlaw guys, when they're coming, I mean, normally they are running on a no-prepped
Yes.
surface, I guess we'll call it. I'm not going to call it a track. I'm not going to call it the street. We'll just call it a surface.
Surface.
So now when they're out here running, is that going to be a normal show that we're running that weekend too?
We're going to prep the track.
Yep.
There's some other things. Hold on.
So I'm guessing we won't be, you're not going to prep the track specifically for them, obviously.
Well, Jeff Lutz is capable of flying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
So it is going to be a full prep track in the normal sense. Now, Reaper, James Goad, has come out and told me that he wants a match race, and there's been some pro mods that have, honest to God, this isn't hype, that have stepped up and said, yeah, this guy's got a big mouth. But they might not fully understand exactly the way these guys, when they race and the gaps and the unique way of approaching the tree. And,
right.
This is not for the faint of heart.
Right, sure.
But he is looking to make some money on the way home. And he's been unabashed about it. And he says, turn the clocks on, turn them off. I'll race from the 60. I'll race from the top end toward the front end. I do not care. Find me races, $5,000 minimum, and we'll do this.
So basically you have a fast car, and you got the money to back yourself up, bring it out to the track, and
but he's going to mess with you. That's the whole point of grudge racing. You're not going to just line up next to each other at the tree.
Right.
And, have some poor guy with a steel-bodied.
Right.
No, I'm going to stage at the 60 with my back tires.
Yeah.
The clock can't keep track of that, so your guy's going to spot, and my guy's going to spot, and we're going to figure out who won this thing, and that guy's going to hold the money, and dude, it's the real thing. And
right.
I can't wait. I hope it's a mess.
Oh. It'll certainly make it entertaining. Now,
yeah.
Now you got, like I said, you have Jeff Lutz coming out.
Yeah.
And you got Reaper coming out.
Yeah.
Who are the others that?
Ryan Martin and Andy Jensen.
Oh, right, yep. And Andy's bringing 2 cars.
Andy's bringing 2 cars, yep. I want to make sure, just for whatever reasons, Andy's not part of the Street Outlaws program.
Right.
Okay, the other 4 guys have been on the show,
right.
This and that and the other thing. Andy's a guy that is just like super cool. He's been racing Pro Modified and Pro Street for a lot of years. He's also got a all-steel, gorgeous 67 Chevy too. I mean, show quality, gorgeous. And it goes so far, he's had it 440s in the 8th.
Wow.
So he's going to be making hits in both cars. So we've got our 4 main guys, and then Andy's going to be doing double duty. And he may be open to match racing too. I mean, this thing's going to be nuts.
Well, I'm thinking he might be. I'm curious now. I mean, to hear that. I figured that this was just going to be an exhibition race.
No. There's going to be some stuff going on. If people got money, we're going to make them famous.
Well, yeah, I'm really interested to see how this goes down. Honestly, I mean, there's interesting races that go on, but I mean, yeah, this is the type of race that basically for me that I say, yeah, I want to go out and watch this. Right?
We have hired the security. Not to have a wild, crazy, out-of-hand show. That's
Right.
not my point. But we have hired the security to make sure that if we want to be fluid with it,
Yep.
we can.
Sure.
That's all.
And I mean, I'm not going to say there's never been any issues here at the track, but I've been coming here a long time.
It's been a friendly environment for years.
It really has been.
Yeah.
It really has been. So, yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
I am too. But when you got guys flipping around their plans and you got to take cars down there, tow them down to the top end, and you got a throng,
Right.
we need people that will be able to move bodies in a very polite and friendly manner.
Right.
As polite and friendly.
Have you ever been in the pits in a bonsai drag race?
In a bonsai drag race? No, I've been in the pits where individuals felt they were wronged, and
That's a whole
took
nother
the
level of bad
opportunity
behavior.
like one guy, he was a lefty,
Okay.
which really worked out well because the driver's door is on the left side.
Yeah.
And he pulled the end, the quick jack, and you can get the shaft out that makes the jack function.
Right.
And he took it like a baseball bat and swung it into the cockpit, and it missed the driver's helmet, but it dented all the sheet metal on the B pillar. So that was one of those memorable nights. And there was another time where there was a modified that was leaving his pit stall and was trying to get back to the track in quickest fashion as possible. And when he took off, he peppered another competitor's enclosed trailer with some gravel. And at that point, I was working in a GM capacity. I was walking the pits after the race and just making sure everybody was happy. And I stumbled upon this
Incident.
rattlesnake, I guess, is the way. And he had a breaker bar that was this long, and he was drumming it in his hand. And he said, "So, how are we going to fix my trailer?" And I said, "Nothing," and walked away. I got out of there.
I guess I was talking about more friendly stuff. I don't want to do that.
Oh.
That's
I misunderstood
I get to hide
completely.
behind.
I thought that was friendly.
No, I get to hide behind
No,
Jerry's skirt.
those
for
are
that.
those are Neanderthal circle track guys. And
But what I'm talking about is when you got a packed drag race because of the close access to the cars,
Right.
people become brain dead because there's so much just resonant noise. All right, there's this car idling, that car warming up. That the din just makes you stupid. And it's happened to me. So, I mean, I'm not trying to be insulting. They go walking on a pit road, and some guy's trying to get back from the top end. Some guy's trying to get out of his pit to go to the staging lanes. It's a madhouse, and that's where that security reference was made for. It's not bad behavior. It's just there's so much ambient noise, people get, it's like they lose 30 IQ points.
Well, it's very easy to get distracted, right? I mean,
Yeah,
all of
totally.
all of us have done it. I mean, and it's
I mean, look at what some of
You
the
feel
some of the
stupid when
folks
it
wear
happens.
here to that event.
Yeah.
You can be looking at stuff.
right, but all of us have done it, right? All of us have walked out in front of a car coming out from someplace because we didn't look, and you feel stupid when you do it. But yeah, like I said, I don't know if it's the ambient noise or if you just feel like, oh, I'm at a racetrack, so there's no traffic. I don't have to look about crossing or doing whatever. But
They're coming from every direction.
Oh yeah, you got to be careful. There's no doubt. I tell my kids all the time, you got to watch all the time. But anyways, that's going to be a good show. Looking forward.
It's gonna be.
to it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the show within the show and the drama within the show is going to be something that's going to grow as it goes on, and it's just going to get better as the day goes by.
Yeah. Chris.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see this. I've got all sorts of ideas running through my head of what we can do
I'm
with,
sure you
with
do.
this right
Yeah,
here.
I'm sure you
if you
do.
look at this right here, I'm seeing just
And people that are watching the show will see that the sun is actually shining. We've had no rain here today, and at least for the forecast right now, what I've seen is that the weather's supposed to be nice the next few days. So
Try the track out.
we should have some nice racing here over the next couple of days.
That's what we're shooting for.
Is there anything special going on this weekend?
Yeah, we got a 10-5 race. Some of the local dudes are trying to come up with another location to do some heads-up racing.
Okay.
They've put up some money.
Yep.
Randy Jewell's part of it. I'm pretty sure Vanstrom's coming up. I'm not Josh and Steve Mills have been organizing on this.
Okay.
And they're basically breaking it out into a limited street, basically an A and a B.
Yep.
And when you come in, you're going to be teched, and you will be assessed based upon your performance expectations, equipment you have, safety equipment, to either A or B.
Okay.
And they have names for it, so I apologize. But it's going to be a fun deal to watch, and some of these things are going to be pretty high powered. I mean, Randy's deal's making
Doug's cars.
2200. It's a blown Chevy-headed big, nasty blower on it. It's a good piece in that Chevelle. And Vanstrom just did the turbo.
Right.
Redid his turbo motor, so.
And he was fast last year. I'm assuming Mo's going to be up here.
I would assume so. Yeah, I haven't heard anything directly, but I would assume so.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the $15. Not only we got some of the best ET racers in the state, but there's always something a little bit goofy going on.
Right.
And for $15, it's worth seeing.
And I think, I could be wrong, but I think Doug, maybe Mo too, I know match raced some of the Street Outlaw guys last year and beat them.
That was their setup where they had the 706 versus the 405.
Yeah.
And due to the fact they knew their surface better, they did pretty well against them.
Right.
And God bless them.
Yeah.
So
these guys really are no joke.
But these Street Outlaw guys are just dudes. And they, what the best part is? Are we late? I'm sorry.
No,
they know they caught lightning. They're not a-holes.
Right.
They know that there's a finite amount of time. They know that this isn't making them anything more than a flash in the, I don't want to say flash in the pan, but the egos are very small. You'd be surprised, the reality. And they're just guys that own garages and this. They are what they appear.
Right.
They are what they appear.
Right.
And that was the most surprising thing to me, actually. They get to keep the money from their match racing, but what they actually get from the show is not what we might think it is.
Well, I would say that was my expectation all along, actually, that what they got from the show wasn't that much. But, yeah, the exposure really was where they made the money, right? But it all comes to an end. I mean, I don't know what it was, 15 years ago. Orange County Choppers was the biggest thing. And then what was the Duck Call guys?
They're still around. That's Duck Dynasty.
Yep, Duck Dynasty.
Still
The
on
Robertsons,
TV.
yeah, still on.
But, I mean...
But that's kind of jumped the shark. Now it's pretty canned. I mean, it's just as bad as Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I mean, you remember we were talking at the house and you were saying how similar those shows were.
Right.
The Kardashians with beards and no curves.
There's curves. Those guys are in shape. They're all around.
That's right.
They have nice ab.
So yeah, I mean, all those guys, they got to, like you said, they got to cash in while they can, and I'm glad that it's on.
That's a phone call from a lawyer in Louisiana.
You got a phone call from a lawyer in Louisiana? Oh, yeah, for talking about Duck Dynasty, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're sorry about that, guys. I know you could have been a college football player. We all know. Go play in the swamp. I want to watch drag racing.
Yeah, me too.
When I got up this morning, I didn't think we were going to insult
The Duck Dynasty guys. Yeah. I actually like those guys. I think they're entertaining and funny. I'd love to go hang out with them for their day.
It's probably never going to happen now.
I doubt it.
I would do anything possible not to hang out in that neighborhood. I'm not being judgmental at all. A hot swamp with a bunch of guys that haven't shaved in a while. Or I mean, think about it. I think the baths are probably maybe a little bit infrequent too. I'll take South Beach any day. Pinky out, buddy. Pinky out.
See, this is a guy that worked in the healthcare profession.
I know. He's a counselor.
That's right.
I used to do things. I've had a lot of jobs.
A lot of living.
Yeah. Sold cars, worked in a mall, delivered pizza.
What did you do in the mall?
Taught guitar. Did you ever hear of merry-go-round?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I used to manage a merry-go-round when I was 18 in Long Ridge Mall, buddy.
I don't think Chris is old enough for merry-go-round.
Probably not.
I'm familiar with that. I know what those are.
Yeah, all the girls would get. We were the only store that carried size 0 Jordache jeans. So that worked out. And then, I sold cars for a while and owned a fabrication shop for a while and worked for the NMCA for a while and did the human services thing for a while. Worked at Xerox for 12 years.
Pat gets bored easily.
Bored and fired. Yeah, because my filter's a little mangled. I can't believe I hadn't said anything stupid to this point.
You have to, you got to bring some of that personality out when you're announcing and let go a little bit more, quite honestly.
You think?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. I love, it's the double entendres that like go over about 95%. And then you see like you or adjacent sitting there going,
Right.
I know what you meant. Those are kind of fun moments. Not too many of them because you don't want to be condescending.
Right,
But every
right.
once in a while you get to float one.
It makes it interesting though for the general spectator to come out though when they hear the announcer, and that's one nice thing about you is you get excited about what you're watching.
I do.
So, and yeah, if you're getting excited, then the fans are thinking, hey, you know what? I got to go watch this. I mean, the announcer is going crazy here. What's going on? I got to go see what's going on. So.
I got a guy out there in the pits. I don't know what his name is. I don't know what his car is. He's a guy, right?
Yep.
And he had to cook dinner 3 times this week because he couldn't afford to order out to buy his 5 gallon pail of fuel, right?
Yep.
How do I let that guy down?
Right.
I mean, he's trying just as hard as Warren Johnson is.
That's right.
And hopefully we get the mic situation rectified. But, I do have a couple of jobs while the Saturday events are running, a little different
Right.
than when we have a bigger event when I just park my butt there.
Yeah.
But everybody needs to get their moment because it's just as hard. It's scale, right? Or is that the term I'm looking for? I mean, it's those who have bigger operations don't necessarily work harder. They have
Right.
more hands.
Right.
They have more friends that want to pitch in because it's flashier.
Right.
But the guy going 980s, busting his ass, it's him and his wife.
Right.
You got to give up for that.
And I remember as a kid watching my dad race. For some reason, my dad went up and they didn't announce him. It
broke your heart.
It broke my heart. Yep.
Yep. And I'm guilty of that because you'll be talking about 2 that went down the past prior. The next 2 are at the 60-foot clocks, and then you go back to who's in the burnout box because you can't catch up.
Right.
And, it's funny, in the back of my head, I know I just to somebody.
Right.
It's funny, but
it's hard too because you have other announcements. I mean, you'll be announcing racing, cars be going down the track, and then you have an important announcement that you have to make about calling a class or whatever else. So it's hard. I mean, it's going to happen, but
but people seem to be pretty pleased with it so far. It's something that I've enjoyed doing here, and that's what got me my job. Actually, that was Jerry hired me to announce and realized I wasn't like some kind of a thieving crackhead, Hey, you want to come back
while
again?
you're working.
Yeah. Right. You want to come back again? Yeah, I'll come back. And then it just kind of turned into a mutual respect and now a good working relationship.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the passion for the sport definitely shows for sure.
Well, I asked him, I said, how are things going? He says, why? I said, because the freaking gas on that car is killing me. I got to buy something a little cheesier, and I don't want to do that unless I got a cool job to do it for.
Right.
And he says, I think we're okay. He's going to kill me with the impersonations. He's going to murder me.
So are we out of time now? Probably.
Oh no, yeah, we're right
done.
at the top of it. Yeah, I mean, we covered a lot of bases from racing.
I want to thank you guys for coming, really, because it was nice to talk to faces and be able
Just
to
not on the
interact.
telephone.
Yeah, it was a lot harder for me to do that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, no, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, we're glad that you guys had us out. I mean, like I said, really impressed with the facility and
Thank you.
love the new tower here, and definitely looking forward to getting back here when we can try some live broadcasting from the track.
Love
Yes.
it.
We're gonna
Love it.
We're gonna figure some. I know now what I got to do is as you guys are going back and forth. I was thinking, the internet's hooked up right now. I could grab that stuff on Amazon. I was sitting here. Get a head start on it.
Well, we'll shut up. So
I
you
never,
can get to work.
I never when we started with DVDs, I had one camera and a battery that could make it most of the way through a demolition derby. And once we got to the feature, I had my fingers crossed that it was over quick because last thing I want to do is come all this way, get this much footage, and miss the end. You know what I mean? And the first derby, I had about 3 minutes left, and it ended. And then I went and bought a tripod.
Wow,
Never thought
stepping
about-
up, yeah,
never-
moving up in the world.
Yeah, never even thought about that. And now here we are, where we've got all the equipment at home, so we can make our own 200-foot SDI lines. so that we can cover the ground the way that we need to, and we can get the repeater boxes in place. The biggest thing is we're gonna have to have in order to pull this off. The biggest thing is we're gonna have to have probably 500 feet in extension cords.
I got him.
That's the biggest hurdle that we've got right now.
We've got him.
That's because
why don't you bring 100 just in case I'm short by 100?
I've got in that box right now. We've got.
Have you been in that equipment barn?
No,
dude.
Hi, I'm Chris. We met earlier. This is the first time I've been here.
I didn't know if you got the full tour though. I mean, the stuff that
I pulled in
there,
and I saw the stairs. That's what
golf
we got.
carts, the tractors, oh my god,
all the
extension cords.
All the repeaters and stuff have to be powered. Everything has to. Yeah. Everything's independently powered.
Anything you need, we'll make it happen
got,
within reason.
We've
Jerry,
got
within
feet
reason.
Of extension cord in those bags right now.
Okay.
In there. We're looking at hard cases. You know how you're politely lecturing me about how dumb it is to use those bags. Well, we're gonna be able to get some hard cases now. It was we're turning a corner. I'm really looking forward to it. We take off for Mandan, North Dakota next Friday. We'll do a derby up there, which is going to be the first real test of all of the SDI extensions, and then we turn around and we're home. We get right back home and we go to Morris, New York, and it's just a simple announcing event, and then 3 weeks after that, we're in Geneva, Nebraska, and 2 weeks after that, we're in Heber City, Utah. Just like that.
Trump country.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
All of it.
But yeah, so I'm definitely excited having seen the grounds, and we've got a little bit of work to do, but it's work that's not heavy lifting. I like where we're at.
That's cool.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be. I would say it's going to be a first, really. I mean, we've had the Motor Mania guys broadcast from here last year with the IHRA division event that we had.
John Walter and those guys, yeah.
But I mean, for having let's call it a quote unquote local program, it'll be a first for around here. We haven't had that kind of coverage at a drag race around here.
And these live feeds for the outlaw shows, by way of example, are millions. For like lights out and things like that. Now, you're not going to track that with, index racing necessarily. But the format is proven with drag racing.
That's right.
Yep. Well, we hope to bring them some stuff that they haven't seen before.
Sweet.
And if we do, great. And if we don't, they don't know what they're missing because I haven't seen it.
I'll go out with 60 foot clocks and light myself on fire if people will pay for enough tickets. I'm not a proud man.
Pat isn't up on it, I'm guessing, but when we went to this camera that's behind me, that was on. When we went to Utah here a couple weeks ago for May Mania, a big team show. We were telling all the drivers that we brought two of these with the intention of leaving one in Utah. There's break-off sticks that are taped to the A-pillar. Once the car's eliminated, they have to reach up and break the stick off. It's made out of this thin little flimsy stuff. And we took that camera and we taped it to it and we stuck it in the hay bale. There's a 20-foot Jersey barrier, and then there's a huge hay bale, and there's another Jersey barrier, and that's where we're sitting. And this thing was run on the same extension that it's on now, out to the edge of the track. And we were telling drivers, if you want to be famous, if you want to do something, hit right in front of this. If you can get over the wall, if you can hit somebody hard enough and clean this camera right off, do it. And a guy did. So we were able to cut to the low camera and the stick out. Everything worked perfect. He hit the barrier and it twisted everything. So the camera turned and it's facing down the wall now. He gets put on the wall and he's getting shoved. And you see the tire come crawling into the camera and it lays it over. It snapped the twig off behind it. The camera was fine. It worked out perfect. It was everything we wanted it to do. So that being the case,
this guy did this on purpose, or this just happened to happen?
He was in the driver's seat, but he was a passenger. The guy behind him, the goal was to try and put him up on the wall, and it happened to be in front of the camera. But consequently, everybody got an awesome underside of this shocker Mopar. But in the same idea is using a rig similar to this or another one of the smaller tripod rigs that we have. We want to take one of these small cameras and put it right on the wall looking up the track, up to the starting line, so we can get a nice staging view. And if something haywire happens and it gets taken out, I'm going to do everything I can to get to it before the car hits it.
A really impressive shot too is from the starting line as they go away.
Yeah.
Because with drag racing, the farther you go away from the starting line, the less you're accelerating. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it happens very quickly if you watch a G meter in a race car. So watching the car get small is a lot more impressive than watching it get big.
Right.
Right. But that would mean they have to run over all of those cables.
We could just put it on this side of the wall and run the cables.
Oh, okay.
We're getting technical here.
Go that way?
No one's watching anymore.
No, they've all shut off. It's zero. It's all. We're talking about the stuff that I'm really into talking about. That I don't know how it is. We started talking about that and we picked up too. Everybody got excited. Like, are they actually going to give dates? When are they going to do it? Well, stay tuned to the Facebook page. Once again, I don't know if we hit it a moment ago, but again, jump online, GoFundMe.com. Nick and Mary Ellen, all spelled out, if you want to make a donation to Nick Cerino's cause so that you can get that lift in the wheelchair. Great news that they've already been approved for the chair, and now they're well on their way to the lift.
Awesome.
So that's awesome. That, I think, is going to do it for episode number 16. We've done 16 episodes, and we've already had 2 of them be live remotes, because remember, we were at Dan's place one time, too.
We've done 3 live remotes.
Oh,
We did
3.
the Empire Banquet, too.
I'm talking studio episodes, just specifically studio episodes. That was a
okay.
special one.
Okay,
On
right,
Thursday
yep.
nights, we've been in the field more than we've done, I think, Thursday night shows for any of the other stuff that we've
Right,
been. So
right.
that was kind of cool. But put a fork in this one. That's going to do it. We will be back again in 2 weeks. Next Thursday is going to be the 31st laps turn. We'll get into some of the circle track coverage. And then, again, in 2 weeks, we'll be back with more drag racing conversation. We'll have some results from Empire, hopefully.
Yeah.
And a little recap of what's going on for the rest of the month of June and going into July. So that's going to do it for us. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us for a little while. We'll see everybody next in 2 weeks.
Thanks.